to this evening live streaming session, depending where you are in the world. And yeah, I have a special guest here, Seb from GGBots. I hope you pronounce it correctly. I will lead this session. I'm Francesco. I'm leading developer relation and consensus, and I'm part of this DAO called Mother DAO, where we're basically like building agentic frameworks. And we're kind of like discovering, deeping dive, investigating more and more about everything around X402, 8004, the entire kind of like marketplace. And I think like I met you guys when I was like trying to discover more this kind of like vibe trading concept, and I have a lot of like builders asking like how I can automate to build workflows, but without kind of like giving what is actually GGBots. Let's actually speak a little bit about how you got into the kind of like vibe trading. What's your background? What inspired you? What were some big pain points that you had even before, right? That inspired you to build this.
Yeah, so I've been day trading crypto for the last 5 years, and I got into using um, algorithmic trading, algo bots, sort of more traditional algo trading bots, like 2 years ago. And I tested a few different out, and what I found is that they would have periods of profits, and then market conditions would change, and they would end up losing all those profits. It was just wasn't consistent enough. And so that was the pain point that inspired the birth of
Yes,
GGBots, was that
consistency.
um, what I do, because like these algo bots would be based on indicators that I was using trading, that I was able to kind of contextualize and look at other market conditions and know, like, all right, maybe this isn't the best time to be relying. If it's a momentum indicator and the market's just going sideways and consolidating sideways, you get a lot of false signals. But an algo bot doesn't know that. It can't react to that. And so the thought that I had was that AI could kind of do what I'm doing in terms of getting the broader market context, looking at multiple things that are maybe less structured, less like precise technical indicators, but kind of like cross-referencing those, seeing the whole market context, and be able to use that same signal, but maybe decide not to trade during market consolidation or something like that. And so that's what I set out to do. Like, I don't know, maybe like 9 months ago, is like, I want to figure out how do I enable, sort of evolve this sort of algo trading to be AI sort of first, and trade these indicators the same way that I would.
That's super interesting. I think like also because of your experience, like you got also like different pain points and you started kind of like I don't know, investigating. And I think I agree on. I think also like data feeds like become more clear. There is more segmentation, and I think like having kind of like agent feeding more. Yeah, a more specific data is also helping a quicker conscious decision. So let me understand a bit like is this like are actually those agents trading or it's mostly about the analytics or it's kind of like both? Because obviously like I see platform more on the AI analytics side, so feeding data in and kind of like making and giving like more data points for having a specific decision, or it's more like kind of like the following. There actually I have an action item on actually specific point. And also the other question is that there is a lot of like agent to agent collabs, social coordination around A004. And I'm also like thinking about, are those agent heavy memories, like in terms of kind of like, did the trade went through, was well successful? Because all the things that I tested until now, especially on the both side, they never had some kind of like memories placement, right? And I think this is very important that actually there is a learning curve and maybe some kind of like deep thinking around it. But I would love also like how things because I guess also this is not the first iteration of GGBots. Like you have been
Hmm.
iterating on it, and
Right.
how are the things going? Yeah.
Yeah. So three things. So first, when I first set out to build this out, I separated it out into three agents. So there's the market. I kind of named them, the what is it? Extraction, decision, and execution, or something like that.
Hmm.
So when I first built it, I was like, let's separate this out to where one agent's focused on collecting market data and synthesizing that data and sort of like analyzing it, and then it provides that data to the decision agent that is really reasoning about the market and making the decision to enter a trade or wait and hold an existing trade,
Hmm.
etc. And then it passes it to the execution agent that's actually like executing those trades and making sure that there's like safety guardrails and your risk parameters are set. So that sort of like architecture of like separating out into distinct workflows was critical to sort of like making this sort of like framework work well. Um, on the X402 and sort of like agentic payments side, this is also an interesting thing. We haven't yet like fully realized this, but one of the things we are
Hmm.
working with a partner on is payments for data, because there's certain projects like Brick Road is one. They procure private data sets,
Hmm.
and these private data sets can be very um, helpful and give you an edge in trading and financial markets. And so um but a lot of the time with these private data sets, they have to be sort of, you broker a deal and you get like it's a slow manual process to like actually like get access to those data sets. So they're providing like a way to for an agent to be able to uh to 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 grab just the data that it needs when it needs it. And so that's one thing that we're experimenting with is certain getting certain data. The challenge is like pairing that with the right trading strategy and philosophy,
Hmm.
because the decision engine needs to be able to like make sense of that data in the right ways. And that's a lot of what I've spent work on too, is trying to, like, you can't just give LLMs a bunch of raw
Hmm.
data, a bunch of like numerical data. It
Of
doesn't
course,
do
yeah.
really well with that. So I have to do a lot of pre-processing before giving
Hmm.
it to the LLM to for it, so it can like do proper, where it's like spending its reasoning tokens on actually
Yes.
reasoning about the market conditions as opposed to trying to calculate things.
100%, yeah. I mean, you know
Um,
that, like, you know better than me, like, garbage in, garbage out, right?
yeah,
Kind of like
exactly.
having and I think this is super important. I think also getting structured data, specific like JSONs that are structured for the LLM, like how to have it consumable or easier consumable. And I think also like if you're doing more algo trading, I don't know what type of trading is this doing, and I think we can jump up quick on a quick demo, or at least like showing the platform itself. But I assume also you have different type of like way that you can do it. Before we're jumping in the demo, so what is the tech stack here? Like how apart like leveraging the data, what how you build this? Like I remember you mentioned like you kind of like vibe coded at the beginning that you kind of like build
Yeah.
for scale. But how is the tech stack? You want to kind of like a little bit like mention a bit because we have a bunch of builders out there and how here they want to kind of learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's predominantly built in Python,
Hmm.
and it's really I mean, um one thing that I'll mention is there's a difference between bots and agents and the tech stack
Hmm.
that's used to implement them. So right now, today, with GGBots platform, a lot of them are scheduled bots, which can really just run Python scripts, and it's not super complicated stuff really. When you talk about these, like, it's just setting up the sequence of events and workflows of calling the various APIs when that needs to, right? But what I've also been working on and deploying is full agents that take all of these tools that we've built in terms of when you query market data, this sort of like market analysis piece, the trade execution piece, um, the putting those, packaging them up into tools that an agent can call dynamically and sort of
Hmm.
run a continuous session that is managing its trades, as opposed to like on a scheduled um, sort of like pre-configured GGBot. So right now, when you create a GGBot today, it's
Hmm.
using those scheduled workflows, but I'm trying to figure out how to like enable that sort of like uh, every user can have its own like agent on GGBots that can actually like manage things at a higher level, and sort of orchestrate things and be more dynamic and reactive.
Mhm.
But the execution layer is one thing. So uh, in terms of the tech stack, we've rely on Symphony. So
Mhm.
Symphony.io is a partner of ours that makes it really easy to execute trades in a sort of LLM agentic first format. So it makes that process really streamlined and easy to
Mhm.
basically you have an API that your agent now controls a smart wallet and can
Mhm.
execute trades, spot
Okay.
trade and mostly all we do is like crypto perpetual futures,
Mhm.
but that that has been really helpful because yeah, figuring out the making that streamlined and giving the an agent the actual ability to not just um, not just come up with decisions, but actually just manage the whole trade itself
Of course.
fully
Yeah.
autonomously is critical.
Yeah, I think, I mean, especially in light with what everybody's speaking about on the IMAX and the
Yeah,
kind of like parallelized cloud boats, right? It's very interesting
right,
because I think also you want to also have a specific verticalized agent that maybe can interact with other agents in the same time and act in different markets. And it's good. I didn't know that there because I always assumed that you were kind of like agnostic on the trading kind of like sub trading class from kind of I don't know prediction markets to like on chain versus kind of on DEX. But I think it makes sense when you're more specific to the category because at the end people want to recognize you as kind of like the leader on this specific category.
right.
That's very
Yeah,
cool. Nice.
yeah. It's come a long way. So yeah, happy to demo some stuff if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You want to share your screen?
Absolutely.
Yes. Perfect.
So I'll quickly just kind of touch on the platform itself. It's pretty
Mhm.
straightforward. I've tried to make this as easy as possible for people to create and deploy a uh, GGBot, fully autonomous AI trading bot in just a few minutes, and then you have a lot of like ways you can configure it and sort of tweak it. So uh, the default really is to set up paper trading, so it gets $10,000 of sort of like fake money to start with, so you can test your strategies. But then you can also set it up with live trading with Symphony. We also connected Asterdex. We'll probably do Hyperliquid, and make sure that there's plenty of options for people to connect. Then you select like which trading pair, the frequency you want it to run. So different trading strategies, like obviously it's like day traders, like there's different types of traders. There's scalpers who, look at the 5 minute frequency and 5 minute charts, very high frequency. They're in and out of a trade within, maybe a 15 minutes. Whereas you could have the opposite end of swing trade, sort of strategies that you might spend a few days to a few weeks in a trade. So that kind of depends what type of strategy you're looking for. And then this is a simple way to just get started. You can describe any sort of like trading philosophy or personality or just high level what you want to do, and it'll turn that into a full strategy for you. We can also use sort of these pre-configured ones, and then you can choose from sort of the top, frontier LLMs, and what level you want, because it makes a pretty significant difference in the cost if you're running a reasoning model like a chat GPT uh, at like the highest sort of like max tokens that you can use.
Yes.
um,
Are
it
you guys
spends a lot.
comparing like, can
What
I
was that?
see like also, are you guys also comparing the different like models performances afterwards? Is there some kind of map like for like users to actually like understand, okay, which one I want to use next, or it's kind of like flexible still?
We haven't done enough testing yet. No, like what one thing I want to do next, because I've been experimenting with a lot of different strategy. And mostly, I just default to Grok, um,
Yes. For social
and
sentiment, right?
Yep,
Or
and it does a good job trading. I mean, from what I found, Deep Grok and DeepSeek do a pretty decent job, but I feel like the prompt and the strategy make a huge difference. So like you might be familiar with the N of one Alpha Arena that was sort of like popped off
mhm,
last summer. I think it was,
mhm.
they put the latest models or all of the models and gave them the ability to trade. Those were basically without any sort of strategy, right? So they're given the market data, but they don't really have, they're sort of like creating their own strategies. And so I think that's where your this platform does benefit if you come to it with some sort of like mindset or like trading philosophy that you want to test out, and then you can kind of test which model like runs that strategy the best.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, I
um
like the testing and the arena, obviously. Mhm.
yeah. um and so then after you create that, it will sort of run right away. So you can it creates the bot, and then it's running in the background now. I think it'll do a market query. So we've sort of queried it for, it'll kind of show you what technical analysis has been done. This is actually what's being fed to the LLM. So you kind of understand, what is that market data, that how it's been pre-processed and then delivered to the decision agent. So there's various categories there. And then its thoughts. It's just sort of like what it interpreted the decision agent after analysis. So it analyzed that there was a an oscillator that's overbought, and it looks like a good time to short, basically. So decided to short with a 58% confidence, and then it entered that short. So this all basically just
Interesting.
happened.
Is this and are you also like having some kind of like memory attribution on the logs? Meaning also like, if the trade either fails, so there was like lower confidence, is it kind of learning not
Yeah.
to do it later?
So
How
it's
does it
not
work?
it's not learning real time, but then what you
Yeah.
can do is you go to configure, and after your bot's made 10 trades,
Mhm.
so okay, so this is 3 trades. Let's go to one that's made a lot more. Um, so after your bot's made 10 trades, then there's enough data. You can go to configure. There's this strategy advisor that really makes it simple to sort of analyze your strategy and create new strategies. And there's this analyze performance. And what that does is do that basically. It analyzes like the indicators that the values and patterns that were sort of present, and then the outcomes of those trades, and uh, a number of other things, and sort of like surfaces those patterns for you to then uh, improve your strategy, and sort of then this is your basically your way of your bot learning by itself. I
Okay.
want to even automate this further, like with agents. With the agent that I'm running, it actually does this sort of like autonomously, but this
Mhm.
is sort of like the manual way you do it.
And are you technically also like able to coordinate things with other agents, or not yet? Like, because I feel like, I don't know, what do you believe more in a more specialized agent trading experience, or in a more horizontal agent trading experience? And if it's verticalized, obviously agent will actually like, communicate and coordinate.
I Right now I don't I think those three that I sort of like separations that I mentioned are the probably what's makes the most sense currently. I don't know if it's necessary to go too far beyond that, but like yeah, like that is one thing with um say well, actually with some of the market data that we surface, so like sentiment and social,
Mhm.
news and regulatory, this uses the Grok agentic API. So that that's one thing where like that even could be expanded and evolved. Like the just like specialized agents for market analysis and synthesis, I think makes sense. I think having a single decision agent makes sense.
Hmm.
Like, not, you don't necessarily want to separate the decision out too much.
Yes.
I've actually been running into some issues with that because I
Hmm.
experimented with sort of having an orchestrator agent, and then it's using another platform called REI that is interesting for another reason. But it basically was disagreeing. Like this
Hmm.
other, I was trying to use it as the decision agent or the decision engine. It would
Hmm.
come out with the result, and then the orchestrator would be like, "Nah, I'm just gonna hold the trade anyway." So
Interesting.
they're
Yes.
like disagreeing with each other, and then it didn't work out well.
Yeah, I know also a lot of like platform are doing actually the opposite. They're doing I want to exactly do the opposite of what the agent want to do. So it's really it's very interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yes, the arena. I remember that you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah. So we a few days ago started this 3-week event of sort of bots being able to compete against each other, and see, which ones surface to the top, and those strategies that are at the top are going to be funded with smart wallets. So we'll fund those wallets and they'll live trade. So these are all paper trading bots. And we have some users that are some bots that are performing pretty well.
Nice.
And
Are
yeah, we
those
have what,
can
like
I see the
30, 33,
30?
33
Nice.
bots. Yeah.
Are those
What was
visible?
that?
Like, are those visible open source? Like, what are the attribution and variables that those traders put for setting up the bots, or how does it work?
Yeah, so like the strategy itself is not publicly visible,
Mhm.
but basically what's happening is you're configuring your trading strategy, you're configuring the market data points.
Mhm.
It does tell you on the Arena page like which indicators are being used.
Mhm.
And then you have your trade settings, and so like max position sizing. What's interesting is we use the confidence scores to like size positions. So if your AI is 100% confident in its trade, this is what it'll use, like 30% of the account balance basically. And then that's sort of like dynamic that way. Um,
It makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because I assume also like in a future kind of scenario, also we want to kind of like have open source variables so that also other people can actually test out even this kind of like copy trading. I remember there was a big market, especially for TradFi, but it's
Hmm.
very interesting on how things are going. I mean, on the arena, I think there is a lot of lesson learned, right? That you are basically like seeing. And one thing I kind of like wonder is like what are kind of the lessons learned that you got during this kind of like past? I think like you started like this. I don't know. Like I remember like I saw it like I don't know a little bit like less than 1 year ago or something. Like you've been building for a long
Yeah.
time and share some kind of like lesson learned slash kind of things that didn't went well and you learned that you wish kind of like other people could kind of like iterate on or kind of having some lesson out there.
Yeah, so a few things. So, the confidence scoring is one. Like,
Hmm.
um, a lot of the time, there's human bias in the training data of these LLMs, which shows
Hmm.
itself in numbers, with
Hmm.
like picking 7 when you're asked 1 through 10.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that actually shows itself in confidence scoring of these with these and the confidence scoring can be really useful.
Yes.
But that's one of the things, is adding into the strategy prompt. And I want to get sort of improve the platform to make this more clear for users as well. But you want to like, you want the LLM to have some level of i- uh, sort of flexibility, and
Hmm.
being able
Hmm.
to have that whatever intuition it has. So you want to give it a range for certain indicators to assign confidence scores to those ranges and then like sort of like calculate them at the end. And so it's more of a real confidence score. You want to basically just enforce and ensure that your the LLM is actually reasoning as opposed to just picking a number. Um, that was one thing that I learned. I guess just like when I first launched,
Mhm.
scaling um, was a
Oh yeah,
challenge, right?
yeah,
Like just and one of the big things that I did that made it a lot better was just on the market data side was just figuring out how do you serve the market data to um, all of your users when it makes sense to you. And so like as opposed to sort of doing a new market data query search for every single time something comes in. So like you can like implementing some caching and like short time frames so that you can serve certain data points across multiple users. Like that was one thing that has made a big difference in being able to scale. Um,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean two main things are happening right now, right? Especially when you're kind of like vibe coding something, obviously like scaling from MVP and yeah, and kind of like understanding like how building like the rails for actually a scalable product. And the other thing is I think not just auditing but also like verifying, having like triple I's from like more senior developers. I think that makes sense. But I think also like on your side on this specific use case when we're speaking about stuff like X402 or 8004 coordination, one thing is definitely like that matter the most is distribution, right? Like you want to kind of like make sure that you are giving instrument for even builder out there to configure better. Because I feel it's also like a financial engineering kind of like landscape. It's not just consumer specific,
Hmm.
and I think also like getting lesson learned from other traders in this arena that are configuring. So I think like this kind of copy trader might be also very interesting.
Hmm.
And even in a possible future, providing some specific SDK for those both. Sorry, SDK there are empowering like maybe even other company to leveraging those technology that you're building underground, Symfony, for example. That might
Sure.
be good. So what is coming next post Arena? Like how is kind of like distribution planning? Technically also like what are you planning in terms of like new features? What are kind of like you want to share a little bit that we are here at the end?
Yeah, the big things are one, agents, like full agents, uh, the ability to have a dynamic, reactive sort of like a Claude code for trading,
Mhm.
but that's or a Claude bot for trading basically. I saw
Yes,
somebody actually doing that on,
very cool. Yes.
on X, giving their Claude bot money to trade. Um, so that's one thing. The other is just a big push on market data expansion and also like assets that you can trade. So right now it's like 140 crypto,
Mhm.
um, just perpetual futures. I do want to expand that to stocks, equities,
Yes.
commodities. Prediction markets are
Yeah.
interesting, and just more market data. So we're experimenting now with Nansen API
Yeah.
and Brick Road, and basically looking at how can we get some more. Um, how can we just expand the quality and the
Mhm.
breadth of data that you can give these agents in a really sort of plug and play way?
Yeah. I think it makes sense. The You like having some this feature extension. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Like maybe we'll meet in some next conference or in the arena. I'm also looking forward for for general feedbacks. I really appreciate also how you're accessible from the community perspective, right? It's I think that's super important when you're building specific because I feel like there will be a lot of kind of like copycat of this, and I think like the main players that will maintain themselves kind of like accessible, open source, this building public, and engage the community with those arena type of like distribution activation, will definitely like have more chances in the ecosystem. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Seb, for pushing this.
Thank you. And yeah, this was great. I appreciate the time to be here. I'm just curious to like I still don't fully understand what mother is and
Oh,
what's happening
yeah,
here and what.
yes.
So do you
Basically,
want to just
like,
share for a moment like
yeah, for
what's
sure, for
happening?
sure. So basically, like, there's been different iteration, right? So one of the biggest kind of like pain around agents is the entire agent coordination suite, and basically, Mother is putting themselves as a lower layer of infra where agent-to-agent communication happens. Yeah, all this kind of like A004 coordination happens. So having some kind of like social reputation playground where those agents are able to attested that have a specific track record. It's super important. So that's basically what the all the people behind this DAO are building. And there are different kind of like partnerships. So I think like, and you figure it out already, like one of the biggest kind of like pain points in general is integrations. So having kind of like on-chain integration with specific track record is also something super important. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit, and I think this is also giving us a bit an excuse to stay on top of like all the solution and different use case out there. And speaking with like strong founder on different use cases is super important because I think like social coordination is one of the backbone of the infra, and when we will see like more and more copy of the same business model, the same agent, the only things that we're able to like to kind of like to make stand out a consumer to from one solution to another is the reputational score, and this need to be on chain, need to be
Sure.
verifiable, and I think it's super important, and this that this part happens, right? Because especially right now that yeah, you have literally like forks of forks of forks of
Hmm.
specific solution, and not every consumer is actually like needing some solutions, right? So I think having a reputation library or even profiling those solution, uh, and you need to trust them, like because it's an on-chain reputation system. I think it's super important. So that's a kind of like the gist of like what is happening here on the mother side. But obviously there is a lot of kind of like moving parts, a lot of kind of like integration are happening, and yeah, so it's and there is a lot more also like coming. So
Nice.
I think the same as you are kind of like caring about having a um, how do you say, like multiple agents that people kind of distinguish themselves with a specific track record, because maybe in the future we'll start doing also like providing a agent copy agent of successful agents. I think in the same way you want to also provide how do you say, like transparency of what agent track record are, and
Hmm.
putting those track record on chain. There you're able to actually like self distinguish yourself. The consumer is able actually to make decision, and
Sure.
not kind of like getting into yeah, basically like copy of some project that at the end is bad for everyone, right?
Right.
And yeah, so that's a little
Nice.
bit it. Yeah, I hope a little bit is explained, but we will also come with a lot of more yeah, announcement on that. Awesome, Seth. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. I think we definitely need to meet in maybe like 6 to 8 months to see also how GGBots feature kind of evolved. And yeah, keep an eye also on the new updates around 8004 and payment agent standards like X402. And yeah, so
Sweet.
apart that, thank you so much, and have a nice week. Yeah.